There is an object hidden in the sky. Our predecessors studied its appearances. Like a vast clockwork apparatus, it appeared on a fixed timeline and disappeared whole civilizations. They have left us records of this invisible eye in the sky and how they hid underground from its face. They feared the return of the phoenix. Well, it got me scared. Got me a little scared. Listen to that little phoenix intro. I'm hoping my sound is very, very good right now. It's quiet. Hello, J Hart, Monica Farrow. OG Face Diaper. I still don't know how you kept that wrench. George Aldenor, we thought you were the George at the book tree, but you are not that individual. I talked to them at the book tree. They didn't know what I was talking about. Cug, how you doing, man? I see you going through it on X. I may not comment, but I'm keeping up with everything. All right, we got a special little presentation here. It's not the last video of the year, but it's pretty close to it. Pretty close to it. All right. Wendy Flores. Sorry you sick. Man, I reorganized the playlist yesterday. It took me all day long. So many videos were in playlists that really didn't belong there. Man, I did it now. Whole bunch of videos that have been montaged into longer presentations and in the format they're supposed to be in. I had not put the older videos, the older versions of those videos, the originals. I put them in the members only. There's like almost 300 videos in the members only. They've been montaged. You got to go to the montage playlist and see the long videos where all these videos are strung together as movies. There's a reason for that because we have a new playlist. We'll be introducing a new playlist in 2025. These are going to be Archaix's bullets. 8 to 10 minute presentations packed with nothing but data drops. Somebody says something that you know is wrong, factually wrong. You can go straight to the Archaix's bullets. Go right down the playlist and select whatever the 7, 8, 9 minute video is that covers that topic, and you will overwhelm somebody with data, charts, diagrams, everything you need, schematics, the source materials. Just completely collapse whatever BS out there is being promoted that's wrong. Archaix's bullets. We're going to fill up this playlist throughout 2025 with Archaix's bullets, specifically designed to share all over the Netscape. You already saw. I already dropped that post. You already know what's coming. 2025 Paradigm War. We're going to face off with AIX. That's what we're going to do. One Tux. The Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. Yeah, I've got a very compelling case to deliver to you today. This is a most unusual story. It's a very unusual text with a very verifiable and unusual history. Yeah. This text, Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe, has actually been on my channel since my first 5 or 6 videos, 4.5 years. But it has to be redone. I have to tell you about this text, what it means. All right. So I'm glad many of you like my Jesus presentation. It is now you understand where I'm coming from, what I have meant so many times in the past when I call them my Christian brothers and sisters. What I have meant from the depths of my heart, man, that I'm not turning on my faith. I'm only quantifying that what is being promoted as carnal Christianity has nothing to do with the original Christian faith. Nothing. Carnalizing the Christian message is in order to carnalize it, to turn it into something of physical value instead of spiritual value, it was necessary for the church to try to fit it in somewhere. Well, they messed up because they should have tried to fit that in somewhere further back. Instead, they tried to fit it in the 1st century AD, and we have more historians, more text, more documented histories, more archaeology, more comportment from the 1st century BC that none of those things ever happened. I mean, 1st century AD that none of those things ever happened. Yeah, no sun darkening, no miracles, no miracle worker like that, none of that. Even the historians of the day were highly critical. Like, what are y'all talking about? None of that stuff happened. You had naturalists of the day that were recording every eclipse, every sun darkening, every earthquake. None of this stuff happened. Yeah. And if a miracle worker was going around doing all those miracles, I'm going to tell you now, the text says he did it for 3.5 years. It only takes 19 days for a fast ship from Rome to Jerusalem. So, no. When word would have spread that there was an amazing miracle worker, there would have been rich Romans from all over the provinces sending their sick and their lame and their blind and their family members with centurion entourages from all over the entire world. In 3.5 years, almost the entire world would have heard the story, and people would have been sent to go get healed. And none of it just doesn't exist. It was a literary masterpiece of great spiritual value, probably adapted from a screenplay of the amphitheaters, one of the mysteries. But anyway, we've already beat that up. It's time to move on. Now we're going to talk about the Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. You will learn new things today that you have never heard before. So, I know many of you know that in the course of my publishing, it was 2004. I've been a writer like over a quarter of a century. I'm 51. I've been writing books for over half my life now. I was first published in 2006. My very first published book. Absolutely packed. It is not large print. This is not a J Dreamers book where you skip all over the lines and you use a giant font trying to fill up the pages. This is a heavy book. It's got a lot of pages and it's in micro print. And my bibliography has hundreds of source materials just to put together this book. So in this book, I cite the apocryphal texts. I also cite the pseudepigraphical texts. I was very well read 25 years ago. I still am today. Many of you have read the Lost Scriptures of Giza. I've also cited the Gnostic texts concerning the books of Yao. I've also gone deep into the Hermetic literature and even the Hermetic literature that was stolen by the church, like the Shepherd of Hermas text. In my readings in the Apocrypha, I came across the amazing prophetic material that I've divulged to you guys in 1st and 2nd Esdras, which is nothing but the Greek version of the Old Testament Ezra. The book of Tobit, the Book of Judith, Baruch, the Apocalypse of Baruch, the Epistle of Baruch, the Wisdom of Solomon. These books, they give us more insight into the world of the Old Testament. The letter of Jeremiah, Baruch 6. We've learned about the controversy between of a Jesus and Judas in First and Second Maccabees, the prayer of Manasseh, a really weird book called Bel and the Dragon. These are all Old Testament apocryphal books. These are books that are still canon in the Catholic Church. There's more than that. I haven't named them all, but I did name I cited in my law scriptures of Giza, like the Book of Sirach or the Wisdom of Sirach. Yeah, he talks about Enoch. And the reason I had to cite all these apocryphal texts, and there's more than that, is because I was looking for any trace of any information about the Great Pyramid, the ancient Christian mysteries, or the Ionic mysteries, and the chain of custody of this knowledge coming from the era pre-flood of Enoch. So I found references to Enoch in all these books. It's what got me published. Paul Tice of the Book Tree in San Diego sent me a publishing contract. Said, "Man, I have never seen anybody put together so many fragments from so many different sources all over the world and put together the actual story of Enoch. This is amazing." So he sent me a publishing contract because I had sent him something new. And he's very well read, and he has published many people. Paul Tice has published Zechariah Sitchin. Paul Tice has published Jordan Maxwell, and really deep, penetrating researchers like Hugh Montgomery, like Jack Barringer, and really deep psychological books on the Anunnaki called by Neil Freer, like Breaking the God Spell. Paul Tice has published some very compelling authors. These aren't the only ones. There's many others. You guys know Tracy Twyman. Some of you in my chat know what I'm talking about. He used to publish Tracy Twyman. So when I sent him my material, he was like, "Wow, this is compelling. I've never seen anything like this." And I was the first convicted felon ever. And I'm still the only one that Booktree has ever contracted. So he sent me this publishing contractor right after I had got published in an international magazine called Paranoia. From prison, Paranoia magazine took my article on the Phoenix phenomenon and they published it in 2004. It's in one of the 2004. I used to have it years ago. I had copies of it. Now I just have the digital version. But Paranoia magazine published my article on the Phoenix cycle. So after that, Paul Tice of Booktree published my first book. Since then, he's published almost all of them. Now, it was in those books I talk about Enoch, and I talk about the Book of Jubilees and the Testaments. There's 12 of them, Testaments of the Patriarchs, the Sibylline Oracles. I had to read all this material, the martyrdom of Jeremiah, the martyrdom of Jeremiah or Isaiah, the Testament of Solomon, Testament of Abraham or Apocalypse of Abraham. They're all in the pseudepigraphical text. Oh, the lost books you can find them on Amazon. The whole collection is called The Forgotten Books of Eden and the Lost Books of the Bible. It's about this thick, and it has the entire Apocrypha and the entire pseudepigraphical text, even all the ones I'm forgetting to mention right now. It has the Testament of Job and the Assumption of Moses, Psalms of Solomon. I know it has some Baruch texts, like the Apocalypse of Baruch, the Testimony of Baruch, the Book of Baruch, something like that. There's like 3 or 4 Baruch books. But the pseudepigraphical texts you never know what you're going to find. They have all these amazing little fragments, and you got to put them all together. So that's what I did. I put all these fragments together. I told you guys in the past, and I still stand by it, that I'm one of the most well-read individuals in the world. This book was published 20 years ago. It's 18 years ago, 19 years ago, and it's self-evident. Anybody who has read my book and gone through my bibliography can see that it took a massive amount of research just to put this together. just to put this together. So it was the beginning. I've now written so many other books. You've seen them, Chronicon and all my whole stack of other published books. But it was reading all the books of the Bible, then all the apocryphal texts, then all the pseudepigraphical texts, and I couldn't stop. I was on this learning. I was like, wow, man, this is amazing. But all my studies in Christianity kept taking me down one road, and my Christian programming stopped me from looking at those texts. So I went and I looked at the Book of Jasher, the Book of Jubilees, the Book of Enoch, First Enoch, Second Enoch, Third Enoch. Oh yeah, First, Second, Third, Fourth, Fifth books of Moses. This isn't Torah. I'm talking about other books of Moses. So these are like Middle Age texts. But I'm going through them. I'm reading all this. So I get a copy of the Jonathan Targum, and I go through the Babylonian Targum, and like I'm absorbing all this material. I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to put it all together. Trying to figure out why the church eliminated all these different texts. So I'm reading all of Augustine, and I'm reading Ignatius, and now I'm reading Fox's Book of Martyrs, and I'm reading all the apostolic fathers, and then the ante-Nicene fathers, and then I'm reading all these Christian, the Byzantine fathers, and I'm going through all these texts and all these roads keep leading. I'm trying to figure out why the Roman Catholic Church exterminated all the Cathars. And I read about the Waldensians. I'm like, man, these people believe something totally different, man, but they were very spiritual people. So it keeps taking me down this road. But the only thing blocking me was my programming. Every time all these texts keep taking me to this road, and I just block, because my Southern Baptist programming, I was educated to believe that the students of the Gnosis were satanic. I don't want any cross-pollination with that material. But when I exhausted all my research, I'm done with this gigantic Book of Jasher. I'm done with First Enoch, the Book of Enoch. I'm done with the Slavonic Enoch, Second Enoch. Then I go through all the BS middle-age rabbinical books. I go through that old trashy ass Sefer Yetzirah book. And I go through the old trashy what is it? I can't remember. Kabbalah. I go through the modern books. Like, man, nothing is answering this amazing void, but it's the void that's calling me. Hey man, I need you to fill this up, and none of it. So finally, I just broke through my Christian programming, and I learned about the books of Yao, and I learned about the writings of the Gnosis. I didn't even touch the Nag Hammadi text for a while. I'm going through all these amazing fragments that were put together using the original Christian documents. Booktree publishes one book called, matter of fact, it's right here. History of the First Council of, no, that's not it. It's the history of the Christian religion, the history of the Christian religion and church. Not that big hardback that I'm always sharing with you, but it's a thin paperback in micro print. You got to use a magnifying glass to read it. Errol G, you've seen that book at the Booktree. I got it right there on that stack. And it shows that the original Christianity was all literary, it was all spiritual, and that the world as a materium, the physical construct, was a product of the demiurge Yaldabaoth. And Yaldabaoth is none other than the demon that popped out that burning bush. And everything started making sense. Now I understand why God told everybody to kill those babies. I understand why God released a bear to go chew up 22 Israelite children. Now I understand why all these Israelite leaders had a difference of opinion on the way something was to go, and Moses was told to impale them. One of the most excruciating deaths ever. Ask Vlad of Wallachia. Now things are making sense. Whoa! I'm realizing, whoa, it's literary. And look at this. This is the whole Old Testament was hijacked. The God of Exodus is not the God of Genesis. This demon that popped out of the burning bush. I'm putting all these things together, and it's the writings of the Gnosis that let me see with clarity that this is a spiritual construct. It's a spiritual medium. Everything is to be interpreted in spirit. God is spirit. Everything is to be understood in a spiritual content. And anything that is carnalized or made to be true in the physical world is a part of the illusion. So I'm reading all this, and I have a study partner. I met a guy in prison, and we clicked because we both had that hunger. He was a friend of mine, and anytime I was done with a text and I data mined it, I passed it to him. You guys already know my dad was sending me all these texts. Publisher, I was ordering from different stuff. Well, he didn't have those advantages, but I made sure he had everything I had. So I'm passing all these texts because in prison you can't hold a lot of property. So I'm always data mining and sending my notes home. But as I'm learning all this, I'm explaining to him, but he's so stuck. He was so stuck in everything has to be factually, historically true. You have to literally believe this right here, or you're condemned to hell. His programming was real. He was very well read, like I was, but he just wasn't getting it. Every text we were going through, and if his spirit resonated with it, he was swore up and down. This right here. The Bible wasn't written by men; it was written by the Spirit. This is all the Word of God. And he used to always pontificate, and it used to get under my skin. But he was a friend of mine. And I still passed him the books, gave him the Book of Jasher, gave him the Book of Second Enoch. And when I'm done with him, and he reads and researches all the same thing I am, but he's not seeing it. To him, all this material was written by direct inspiration of God. Therefore, it's all correct. But I was finding discrepancies. I was finding discrepancies everywhere. You guys know, you guys that have been curious enough to go through my Dark Scriptures playlist, you know those discrepancies are real. But he's a friend of mine. So I just told you the background to this text. I'm going to continue the story and what happened to him as soon as I'm done introducing you to the apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. Check my chat, and then I'm going to read to you and show you on the screen so you can see it yourself. This text. Told you you're going. Today's a very powerful lesson, guys. I can't give it to you until the end. I just can't. Not this one. Check my chat. We got over 1,000 people in the chat. Okay. Chat looks good. Let me remove that little snippet video I had in there earlier. Get it out the way. Yeah, man. Every church denomination today demonizes the Gnostics, because the Gnostics were the first Christians, and they didn't carnalize anything. They were spiritual. They knew. All right. Yeah, man. All right. So, yeah, got 1,100 people in the chat. Y'all can be a little bit more liberal with your likes. Yes, sir, G-Man Pettis. The Bible does refer to the Book of Jasher and Enoch. And as I have shown, the academic world has been able to dismiss the Book of Jasher the way they dismiss many other texts. And I have shown the history of the Book of Jasher and how four manuscripts have actually been found. But because of what is mentioned in the Book of Jasher and how the Phoenix phenomenon, the actual chronology is in the Book of Jasher, absolutely perfect, academia has demonized the text. Remember, every good text that's telling you deep stuff has been demonized by academia. And I have a full list on my channel, Archaix. I repeat that list from time to time. So Jasher's one of them because it has chronographical material in there that shows us exactly what year it is today. It is 59:19 a.m. right now. Shows that the Jewish calendar is total psyop of BS. So, as a matter of fact, one of my moderators and I were exchanging emails just yesterday or this morning, I can't remember, about the Jewish calendar and how he asked me, DAC asked me, and sent me some screenshots. Hey, he said, hey, man, as far as I can find, man, the Jewish calendar only goes back to 359 or 369 AD, Hillel II. And while I agree with him, I also try to add some to it. I have to correct that information because I did a video on the Jewish calendar, and the Jewish calendar does not go that far back. What we have is a reference within the last 400 years when the Jewish calendar was created that Hillel II was the one that originated this calendar's deal, and it's psyop. It's bullshit. There's no reference to the Jewish calendar anywhere in the early church, anywhere in the Middle Ages, anywhere up until the Renaissance period. It does not exist. So you guys know I have a playlist. Archaix exposes bad data. You'll find a lot of Billy Carson stuff in there. You'll find a lot of Gobekli Tepe stuff in there. You'll find Jewish calendar stuff. Anything that's being promoted widely as true, that's a part of bad data, I got it in that playlist. In 2025, that playlist is going to grow with the new playlist called Archaix Bullets. You guys are going to love these bullets. All right. So, Archaic of Matthias the Scribe. We're going to get into that right now. So let me share my screen. Present, share screen. I got another screen open to see so I can see what you guys are seeing. Prepare to go on a ride. I just mentioned all these ancient texts, all these books. So let's see. If you guys see what I see. I do believe y'all can see that pretty good. All right. The Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. This text is 7 independent sections that provide a single narrative. I was at study in my chamber till eventime, and in the book of the inscriptions of Enoch I read, for the books are many, and in them you will learn all the Lord's works, all that has been from the beginning of creation and will be till the end of time. Overwhelmed with reverence and in deep thought, I prayed unto the Lord. With my heart did I give praise to him. I meditated upon the bricks of the wall and studied how one brick differed from another in form. In the spirit, I began to muse over the works of men, but a presence disturbed me. Fear seized me, and I closed my eyes in prayer and felt the force of motion within my being. Then did I still and opened my eyes as warmth overspread my body. Before me stood a handsome and exceedingly tall man. And I looked around and perceived that I stood upon the sands of a desert by a riverbank at the middle of the earth. It was twilight, but dusk or dawn I did not know. Elective he of heaven, spoke the man to me, and I perceived him to be one of the holy ones of God. Take your pen and write the things you see and hear. And in my hands were a pen of strange aspect and a prism. I then knew by reason of my studies that I was to write upon its four faces, and I held the prism in my right hand. Come and see all that you shall write, said the messenger to me, and you shall write them from right to left and from bottom to top over all four faces of the prism. But fear not, O scribe, the one that has set you to task shall put his words in your heart. This instruction I heard. I looked at the prism, and in dismay I cried to the messenger, but sir, I cannot finish this task, for its top is missing. And to the tall man did I lift it up, but he admonished me, O faithless man, think you that he cannot complete the end which was written from the beginning? Confused and ashamed, I bowed before this man, for in him did I perceive great wisdom. But his words comforted me. Who are you, sir? And where is this desert place you have brought me, this place of judgment? And the messenger of the Lord advanced toward me in the space of 7 steps. I am a holy one of heaven, said he. The numberer of secrets am I called, for my name is Palmoni. And I have brought you back to the beginning, to a place of testimony. For by virtue of your wisdom and searching in what is written, are you chosen to see what lies hereafter. You stand in the place where judgment began. While I thought upon his words, he led me away from a river bank in the east, and I came to stand before a giant beast in the sand with human face. I wondered at its beauty, and I could see in its face vast knowledge and purity of spirit. Also, I wondered when the Lord had made such a thing. There are hid greater things than I, for men have seen but few of his works, said the beast to me. What are you? I asked, and why are you hidden from the sight of men? But the beast was silent as it gazed east. The Holy One said, he is keeper to the path of life and of knowledge. In him are heaven and earth tightly fitted together. And he is the guardian cherub of the pillar of knowledge when the earth is wrapped in darkness. By judgment is he made strong. And I, Matthias, wrote this testimony I heard and saw, though I understood not the words of the angel Palmoni. That's part 1. We have 6 more parts to go through. Part 2. I finished my writing as the sky grew brighter with approach of morning. The beast gazed east, and startled, I beheld a certain number of stars that fell from heaven, and a star fell to the west. Disturbed and of a shaken spirit, I asked, what does this mean, that stars should fall upon the face of the desert before the day is born? With low voice, in the manner of one who mourns, the messenger said, the time comes when their iniquity shall be remembered, and judgment no longer delayed. The fiery revolving sword comes in haste, and their sonship has been appointed to the images of God. And these things I wrote. Then did a foul wind of sulphurous aspect assail my senses from the west. A shadow in the form of a man appeared, having markings in the likeness of many eyes. The air became cold and burned upon my skin. Great fear, such as I have not known, seized me, and I cried. The hairs of my skin stood on end, my throat thirsted, and my bowels troubled me for pain. O Lord, what is this evil you bring upon me? And again did the Holy One admonish me. O faithless and miserable man, fear not this empty vessel, for he is one of the stars of heaven that observes in hell. He is called and chosen to bear witness to the words that you shall write, for the prism is appointed to his master, the Lord of the deep. At these words I gasped, and I trembled for fear of the prism in my grasp. I fell to my knees in the sand and cried, woe am I that the Lord makes me to write a testimony to hell. But the tall man picked me up, and his touch strengthened my limbs. Warmth did return to my skin and breath into my throat, and I was not fearful any more. Lean not upon your own understanding, O servant of the Most High, but look. And I looked, and beyond the cherub that guarded, I beheld a great mountain with perfect sides. I counted 3 sides of the mountain, but in my heart I knew it had 4 faces, and the mountain was one of its own light. I approached this holy mountain, and a voice like the sound of many waters said, remove your shoes, O scribe. The ground beneath this sand is sanctified by the eternal name of the Maker. It was the cherub that spoke. Again I felt the wind. Fear seized me, and I removed my shoes. I neared the mountain as darkness lifted and the light of the morning sun marked the time from evening to morning. The messenger followed, but the one of shadow did not pass the cherub. What is the name of the Lord, sir? Can you tell me? I asked the messenger. No, and nor can I tell you the number of his name, for you have yet to know your own. But my name is Matthias, sir. Yes, said he, all born on earth are given earthly names, but the name of the Lord is hidden under a breath. Everything with breath has uttered the name of the Maker, which name is found also in the form before you. At these words did I wonder greatly as I looked at the mountain, and these things I did write upon the prism. This concludes part 2. Now, entering part 3. Part 3 of 7. And I beheld, and lo, the light of the sun was cast upon the great mountain, and a desire to ascend it like a star into the heavens entered my heart. I was amazed to see the whiteness and beauty of this mountain. Its foundation did appear to be above the earth, for the morning mist covered the face of the ground. Be this the work of human hands? I asked. But again did the messenger admonish me. No, this mountain is the witness of the Maker and the work of his hands, a testimony to all creation of that which was, which is, and what shall be. Now go, examine the pillar of God. I obeyed him and approached the mountain. I marveled that it looked like one smooth stone. But as I drew closer, I examined its brickwork of fine craftsmanship and smooth white blocks large and without blemish, stones of equal size and beauty. Their height one upon another reached to the top of the holy mountain, and I perceived that it was without a cornerstone. The stones were cut perfectly and tightly fitted together. And I remembered the cherub. As I turned, the tall man said to me, darkness has given way to the light. The fiery revolving sword now guards the way of knowledge, and the cherub sleeps till summoned. And I looked, and lo, the cherub was a great stone in the sand, and the one of shadow still maintained his place. As the sun moved in great haste across the sky, I wrote the things that I heard and saw. That concludes section 3. Section 4 of 7. After I committed those things to writing, did I gaze back at the stones of the mountain, and I wondered at the number of them. How many stones do this mountain make? I asked. Only the maker knows the number of them in his work, replied Palmoni. But are you not the numberer of secrets, who alone could answer my question? Yes, I am he, but the number you seek is hid in the stars that fell, said he. For all that are called, chosen, and faithful will be given a white stone like unto these, with a new name. But as it is written, the wicked are written in the earth. I marveled at these words and asked, Why, sir, do you speak to me in dark sayings difficult to know? And he said unto me, Because, O man, the fear of the Lord has given you wisdom beyond your years, and it is written, the parables of knowledge are in the treasures of wisdom. And you, servant of the Spirit, are counted as one of the remnant on earth that in all truth understand the things you see. Then did I continue my search of the mountain, and lo, I perceived the appearance of words of an unknown kind upon the face of the stones. There were thousands upon thousands and countless many stones, and on them all were written words of mystery. As I watched, my vision became altered, and in the spirit I beheld the formation of newer words. I was perplexed, for this writing I knew was one of songs uttered not by human tongues. Words became merged with other words and symbols, though their meanings were not made known to me. By wisdom of the Spirit did I know that these were songs of power. In amazement did I watch as newer words became visible to me, and by observation I learned that newer signs emerged as words became visible beside other words, some in lines from right to left and others from bottom to top. And this work of God was in the likeness of the prism in my hands for shape. My awe continued when my eyes saw that each stone's writings also formed larger writings of the same song speech, stone to stone. My soul filled with wonder as more lines of words enlisted my eyes distinguish. Is there no end to the writing upon these stones? I asked as I watched as words of smallest size formed those of even greater, and lines of symbols branched out like limbs of the tree planted by a river. And the messenger answered, The end lies in the beginning, and eternal is the word, O scribe. The wind ceased, for the wind blew steadily till that time. The desert fell silent, and the sun stood in its place above the mountain, as the music of many leaves, as they praised God in their movements, filled my ears. I was about to inquire of this music, but the Spirit hindered me. The sun stood above the mountain and cast shadows into the writings, a thousand thousands of shadows upon the face of the mountain, like the countless leaves of a great tree when it stands beneath the midday sun. The mist departed, and I looked, and the roots of the mountain were buried in the foundation of the earth, like the deep roots of a mighty tree upon the ground. And the shadows deepened upon the face of the mountain like bows supporting many branches and leaves. Lines and shadows of words also became visible where but stone had been before. Once more, I fell to my knees. Rent between awe and horror at the sight of this living rock, did I cry, O Lord, my eyes have gazed on that which is eternal, on wisdom concealed from men, on knowledge and wise design hidden from the sons of men. And I was faint from wonder, for before me stood a tree of magnificent size and unsearchable knowledge. Yes, O scribe, with eyes do you see, said the messenger while he picked me up. Good and evil do these words contain, but the good has been fulfilled. And as the way of life is hidden since Eden because of evil, to evil you are to write, for the way of knowledge has not been given them. And you shall write down all the words of the hours of darkness, that the watcher might prepare his Lord in the deep. For it was he who first took of the fruit from the pillar of God and led his brethren into sedition and exile. But how can I, a vessel of earth, discern the script of angels? I asked. And he looked upon me and said, These be words of power and vision, and I have been chosen to read to you things no others are appointed to know. For the revelations of God are hidden in numbers. Listen and see, O scribe, these things that you shall write. At hearing this, I prepared my pen, and the prism I held in my right hand, and the one of shadow watched me. That concludes part 5. Check my chat again. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Told you today was going to be a little deep. All right, let's move on. We're at section 5. We have 5, 6, and 7 to go. Then did the numberer of secrets look into the living rock, of the stones of the tree, and read the words of mystery. I heard his voice, but understood not this speech. The words were words of a beautiful and mournful music. I stilled, in the eyes of my vision, of my spirit saw a vision. I looked, and lo, sheep were grazing in a field made small by the presence of a mighty forest. And the trees cast forth long shadows, and all the sheep faced the east. Then did a lion with wings like an eagle come out of the wood, and around its neck was a collar of gold. And the lion watched the sheep as the wings took flight and became an eagle that flew to the west. And the lion walked away. Then came a bear out of the wood with a collar of silver about its neck. Many sheep did chase it into the field, and the bear walked away. I watched, and lo, a leopard with a coat like many eyes came out of the wood. It chased many sheep into the field, and upon its neck were 4 collars of brass, and the leopard walked away. Then the eagle, being made powerful, hunted in the wood, and it gathered the collar of gold of the lion, the silver collar of the bear, and the 4 collars of brass from the leopard, and he bound them with a chain of iron. And power was given to the eagle to watch the sheep, as I watched the spirit of Babel enter its heart. And certain dragons in the east hated the eagle, for they hungered for the sheep. The sheep prospered under the shadow of the eagle's wings, and in the east did the dragons think an evil thought. The eagle, at the time appointed, took gold, silver, brass, and iron, and did make an image with 7 faces, was set with many eyes, that did watch over the peoples of the earth. And the faces watched the dragons. And the number of the names of the dragons was 9, and 9 was the number of their end. And they sang a song of fury and hate that brought terror to the sheep of the field and hurt them. But the eagle and the image of its design were without harm. And a shepherd having the likeness of an image of God and with the number of man did visit the sheep, and he healed them. With peace did he subdue the dragons for a time upon the earth. With light he made the sheep to see, and also great knowledge was given them. But the light was not good, and a crown was given unto him. And a third part of the dragons made war against the one in the likeness of an image of God, but he smote them mightily by the power of the trees of the forest, and made the earth red with their blood. He then made the pasture of the sheep to be greater in wideness. The sheep gave him a scepter of silver, and beneath the shadow of the trees did the sheep find pasture. Then a curse from heaven smote the earth. The world hungered as a horseman that comes from a long journey, but the sheep fed upon the green grass of the pasture. The nations gathered and were fed by the likeness of the image of God, and the nations hungered and gave him a seat of brass to rule over them from the land between the rivers. And the heavens angered because of this blasphemy, and the names of blasphemy given unto the shepherd by the sheep. The arrows of God fell upon the nations. There was pestilence, death, and the powers of the deep increased upon the circle of the earth. And the images of God were pale with fear and with sickness, and they fell prey to the beasts of the earth. But the likeness of the image of God prospered, and a rod of iron was given unto him. And with it did he hunt many who loved the sheep, for in him they saw no shepherd. These are they whose names are written in heaven, and they are called and elect. And an altar of vengeance was prepared for them. For they were smitten to keep them from the evil to come. And I beheld, and lo, certain stars from heaven to earth fell. The sun and the moon darkened, and the foundations of the earth roared as a woman that gives birth at a late hour. And the stars were stars of ruin. And as I looked up, the chief ones of the earth grew terrified, and the deep waited. As I watched, the prism in my right hand became like unto a son of an image of God, and to my astonishment it spoke. Hear the word, O eagle. You have become an abomination and have fallen from your former state, says the Ancient of Days that appointed you. And because you have performed a godless work in the spirit of Babel, judgment from heaven shall fall upon you. For the trees of the forest have plotted against their maker, and in the shelter of their bows you have sought counsel. And the earth shall see your end and be terrified. For the great nation of many tongues and peoples in the sea shall be no more. And your transgression shall be written in the earth, for by oppression and deceit have you bewitched and subdued the kingdoms of the world beneath the rod of iron. And the form of the Son of the image of God disappeared, and the prism within my grasp did I hold. And I wondered at this. I be As I wondered at this, I beheld, and lo, a star from heaven fell in the west, and the eagle burst before me into flames and was no more. And the world was terrified, and many cities of the nations fell in that same hour. The earth did groan and shake mightily by the power of the star of ruin. And the dragons made a covenant against the one in the likeness of the image of God, and against his seat that was made strong by the image with 7 faces. Then were the ancient ones below the earth awakened. The messenger ceased his singing, and the visions departed my eyes. I looked, and in the hands of Palmoni were 7 tablets of a stone of dark aspect. They were covered on both sides with the script of angels. Take up these tables of stone, O scribe, and bury them in the earth before the keeper of knowledge, for their seals are broken, and knowledge has been increased upon the deep. I obeyed and took the 7 tablets and placed them in a hold that I made in the sand before the feet of the stone cherub, and buried them according to the word of the messenger. Then did I write all those things that I heard and saw, and the one of shadow watched me. Almost done. Almost done. All right, checking my chat. Let's go back in. All right, we're now on part 6 of 7. Again did the angel read from the stones of the tree, and a song of mystery brought vision to my eyes. I beheld as stars fell to the earth and wrought a great destruction upon the habitations of the images of God. A bright star appeared and divided the light from the darkness. From evening till morning, for the space of 7 days, did it descend upon the earth, growing in its brilliance. The foundations of the earth were angered, and the rocks of the ground split, as in the day the Son of the image of God was crucified. And the star struck the earth with great fury and tumult. The sea and the waves did roar, so that dry land was troubled. The earth cast forth her fury, and pillars of smoke, and the sea and the sky did burn. The will of the Maker was then wrought upon the earth with force, and the day and the night were quickened, so that the space between the evening and the morning was shortened. This miracle was done to save the remnant of the elect from being overcome by the likeness of the image of God. And the confinement of the stars was made complete. And a star descended, a root in the earth of a tree was he, who had power to open the gate of the deep. The place of the lost released them who were of old cut off and had their bowels removed. You know, I'm terrible at pronounce some of these words. And a voice from heaven commanded the destroying angel and his angels and said, "You shall come up," for darkness was over the face of the deep till that time. And 4 mighty ones did serve the prince. The dragons of the east did behold the end of the eagle and wondered with great terror, and they thought an evil thought. Then did they remember the third part of their seed that was subdued by the shepherd of the sheep, and with great fury to destroy did they devour the seed of the likeness of the image of God, and his seat was on the Euphrates River. And at the bidding of the trees did the dragons turn and advance against the pasture of the sheep, and think to devour them. But the likeness of the image of God was their chosen shepherd. And great fire from heaven did fall and consume them to death in the vale of Hamon-Gog. The sheep were without harm, for such was the will of the trees. And into the hands of the likeness of the image of God did the sheep place their souls. But he was not good, for he was in likeness only to his image, and in his image was he not made. And some of the sheep knew by virtue of their wisdom that the likeness of the image of God was not a shepherd, and he was smitten and did die. But in death did the likeness of the image of God live by the power of the destroying angel. And this was done in accordance with the mystery of God. To the elect did the likeness of the image of God become the seed of a mighty dragon, for they were not blind, and in him they saw no shepherd. And the sheep understood the design of the trees and their shadows of seeing. And a third part of the earth was without form and void and wrapped in darkness. Then did the Maker look back to the day of the beginning, for it was the will of God that a third part of everything he had created and made in the beginning time be destroyed. Then did the image of gold, silver, brass, and iron, with 7 faces, become a mighty red dragon with many heads. And the heads were of a lion, a bear, 4 heads of a leopard, and the head of an old serpent that brought forth the seed. And I watched, and lo, the dragon became a tall tree of the forest, and the trees were stars of knowing. These trees were from of old, and they did lift up their voices in terrible words, in songs of fury. And the stars shine their light into the 4 corners of the earth, but the elect they could not find. And the trees were full of wrath, for human blood they sought. The seed of the dragon made his seat in the pasture, and did curse the earth with great abomination from his seat. The image of God on earth was brought to desolation, and blasphemy stole the souls of the blind by the light of the likeness of the image of God. And the number of his name was made known to the elect, and they marveled. For in the name of the Son of the image of God did he come. And the blasphemy of the Spirit was committed upon the earth. Then did the Holy One cease his singing, and the vision departed my sight. I looked, and lo, the numberer of secrets gave unto the watcher a vessel of drinking made of a dark sand like glass. The vessel was full of blood and did spill onto the sand. And I heard the cries of many who were unjustly slain from the blood on the sand. Drink, said the Holy One, of the abominations of the stars. And the watcher did drink. At that time, I looked to the heavens, and the stars were in the sky, for the sun had descended the west gate while I was in vision, and the moon was at its station in the night. And I looked at the giant statue of stone, but it was not stone, for the cherub had awakened. And I looked at the stones of the tree, and lo, the face of a white mountain was like still water, and no tree in it could I perceive any more. And I wondered, hear, O watcher, the word of he that rode upon a cherub in the heavens that were of old, said the keeper of knowledge as the moon ascended. The third part of the breach of heaven is now healed, and your sonship is given over to the images of God by power of the word, that the Godhead may again be one. And after this did the numberer of secrets command the one of shadow to pick up 4 and then 3 black and heavy stones, hewn not by mortal hands, from the sand. And the writing on them was like the script of the angels of death. And the angel of the west became fearful, but obeyed. I listened, and to my wonder did the writings make noises like storm clouds in the west. What be these dark and heavy stones? And why does the one of shadow fear them? Asked I. These are the 7 thunders of the evening, withheld from the beginning, testimony and judgment not given unto you to know. For it is written that they shall not be tormented before the time, said the tall man. And he commanded the watcher to bury them in the sand, and he obeyed. Then did I write these things, and I, Asonios Matthias, surnamed Mercurius, do declare by the Spirit that I wrote all that which was placed into my heart upon the prism. And as the moon neared the end of its testimony, I waited. I stood before the Holy One as the watcher watched me. All right, we've arrived to the final part 7. I see you, Pam, Troll Slayer. If there's any trolls, get rid of them. I'm not trying to hear it. All right, the final part is part 7. When the darkness was advanced and the night old, the old man, an angel of the Almighty, the tall man, an angel of the Almighty, sent to me in vision, banished the one of shadow, saying, Go, O watcher of the deep, take this testimony inscribed by the hand of man, and prepare the songs of blasphemy and darkness. Reap a harvest of blasphemy and judgment, and make ready the powers of darkness. Take this testimony, O watcher, and plant it in the deep, where hide the dominions of blasphemy. Prepare your master, for the hour comes when his horns are broken and boughs hewn asunder. And in the prison of judgment will he make his kingdom for a day of time beneath the sand. And the one of shadow took the testimony from my hand. I watched, and the watcher descended into the earth to the west. Astonished, I looked at the angel, and he said, Be not troubled, for not all is given unto you to know. But you are blessed, O man, for you believe on the Son of the image of God and are rewarded with sight. And the angels of light shall go before you, but the blind will have their inheritance with the angels of darkness. For in blasphemy they do lead the blind to ruin. And I thought back to all I had seen, and I asked the angel, what means this testimony of revelations I have witnessed? Who is the one of shadow and the images of God? What are these strange angels, the curses that smite the earth, the sheep and the trees that deceive them? How is it that a lion has wings? What of this blasphemy against the image of God upon the earth? And why did they fall prey to it? Is this great nation of many tongues and people in the West Sea? Where now is the Son of the image of God? And when will these things come to pass? And he looked down upon me and said, the Eternal has made his testimony to be hidden on earth by wisdom of the Son of the image of God. By numbers is wisdom measured, and one is the number of the mighty. Two is of perfect union, binding together, and of guardians and things guarded. Three be a perfect number of unity and spirit and allegiance. Four is of things on earth and of worldly dominion. Five has the power to divide and yet be whole. Six be the number of man and the images of God, the sum of creative powers and divine forethought. Seven is of things divine and of perfection. And eight is of the beginning, for when seven pass, does divine appointment begin anew. But in nine lies judgment for iniquity, and nine is the number of those that have fallen short of the path, an evil sum. And 10 is the holy sum, the number of the thing built by the Creator, the number of completion and wholeness. But in 10 and 1 is disorder and emptiness, the number of them that are blind and lost, the sowers of chaos. In 10 and 2 is holy, twice the number of man, for it is the sum of those in service to Yah, and it is the number of testimony as signs in the heavens. But 10 and 3 be of rebellion against him, and of disillusionment, a sum of evil. And greater secrets numbers conceal than these. But let him with wisdom understand these words, for these be words unveiled in numbers. A score was hidden in paradise, the ancient number of knowledge. A score and 4 is the sum of those in service to the arbiter of this world. 2 score be trial and testing, and take heed to this mystery. In 2 score 10 times 1,000 thousands be the number of the stars of knowing that kept not their first estate. When this number is made complete, shall all things come to pass. And many more be the secrets of creation not given unto the blind, O servant of the living rock. I heard the words of the heavenly servant, and of a shaken spirit I asked the messenger, am I not reckoned among them that shall live to know these things? Then before me did he change into a brilliant form of colors I had not known, and said to me, the powers of life rest in death, for nothing is made alive till it dies, O Asanios. Then did I find myself in my chamber with the book of the seers' engravings open before me, and it was dawn outside my window. The spirit of memory was with me, and I did write a record of all the words of the one called Palmoni, who visited me. That sums up the Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. All right, stop. I need to remove that. Get back in here. Hope you guys enjoyed that little reading. So let me continue with my story. So having read all the apocryphal material and data mined it and found all kinds of amazing cross references with the Old Testament, I read the pseudepigraphical material. Then I read all the material that was removed from like the Christian canon, and it led me. This research led me deep into the writings of the Gnosis, what we could find, which is mainly rehashed from Christian critics. It has been put together. Now, Uh, this led me to the Hermetic, Corpus Hermeticum, the Divine Pymander. I read a book, The Wisdom of the Knowing Ones. Amazing Shepherd of Hermas text that I told you guys about before, which was originally a hermetic text that was borrowed, pretty much lifted by the Christians. But it's so profound. I need to do a whole video just on the Shepherd of Hermas. Matter of fact, Shepherd of Hermas is basically about angels building the Great Pyramid. Each soul is a stone of man. If that's a video you guys want to see, I will do that video too. You just got to tell me. You got to tell me that's something you want to see, you want to hear. It's a long text, but I'll do it. I can paraphrase it, but so this is this story is intrinsically personal to me. As a matter of fact, my channel's been here for 4.5 years, and I've never shared this story. I have never told you guys about the apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. Never mentioned it once. It's been on my channel since the very first 2 or 3 weeks I was releasing videos, 4.5 years ago. So my buddy, my research buddy, we're no longer friends today. That friendship ended a very long time ago, but it's okay. I mean, sometimes we just outgrow people, and that's okay. And this is what happened here. For about 2 years, we shared all this material. I was just exchanging. Sometimes he got books in the mail that I never heard of, and we just shared all this material. And he was so stuck on that if he felt the spirit in something he was writing, and it was an apocryphal text, a pseudepigraphical text, it was an extra canonical text, so something not necessarily in the older New Testament. Well, he would just flat out tell me, oh yeah, well yeah, this is Bell and the Dragon. Oh yeah, man, Bell and the Dragon and the Apocrypha, man, 100%. And this is the writings of God. God inspired this person to write all this, and he was real big. He was real big on not one jot or tittle will be changed in the Word of God, and all these little admonishments that you find in Scripture about Scripture not being tainted with. But we've seen the biblical translations, we've seen the quotations from 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th century authors, and how they differ from today. We say a lot has changed in the Bible. We get it. But he's real big on the fact that this never happened. The real Word of God doesn't change, and that even the changes are done by God. And I get it. But to him, the Spirit would take over. To him, the Spirit would take over all these ancient prophets and authors, and every biblical book, every extra canonical book, every apocryphal book, every pseudepigraphical book, in his opinion, was of God and had nothing to do with the writings of men. That was our point of contention. We were friends for years. But I did something that it's an accomplishment at the same time as it created a wedge that ended up toxifying the relationship, and me and that dude ain't cool. We're not cool anymore. And I set him up for failure. I'm not proud of it, but you guys know it may be a character defect. You guys know I'm always after Graham Hancock, Billy Carson, all these people with millions of views, and they're putting out misinformation. It's just, listen, I'm programmed that way. If I see misinformation, I'm gonna provide examples and data sets. That's just who I am. I'm not gonna stop being that way. So, by virtue of my research, my data mining, when it comes to syntax, grammatical code, sentence structure, idioms, especially idioms, when it comes to all these things, colloquials, I got it. I can read a text in basic. I can read a text in English and basically tell you what text previous to that influenced it. The Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe is absolutely packed with over 100 direct references to Hermetic literature, Gnostic literature, apocryphal literature, pseudepigraphical literature. other extra canonical works like the books of Enoch and Jasher, Jubilees, Talmudic material, rabbinical material. It is absolutely packed, even copying sentence structure. It is completely packed with Old Testament material, New Testament eschatological material, concepts borrowed from 100 different sources. All this massive amount of research. The reason I know this is because I wrote the Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. That's why you can't find it when you try to Google it. It's 100% my composition based off years of research. 25 years ago, I wrote this. When my book, Lost Scriptures of Giza, was published, my publisher put it in here 29. This is published 19 years ago. This is it. The Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. I just read it to you word for word. This is it. But my publisher had it in his possession 3 years. He had this book, he had the manuscript for years before he ever released it in 2006. So what I just read to you was 100% my own composition. And I did it. I did it in secret. I put it all together. I kept a list of all the cross-reference material, every text I used and where it was found. I even put codes in there. My name, Jason, is encoded in the text. Put it all in there. And one day I gave it to him when I was done. And we were arguing again and talking again. And I gave it to him in some notes because I knew if I would have handed it to him, it was all typed up on pieces of paper. And I said, if I handed it to him, he was going to get suspicious or whatever. So I included it in a bunch of notes and didn't mention that it was in there because he liked to copy a bunch of my notes for books that he didn't want to read, but he liked to see the way, my data mined notes. Me and him were really good friends, real good friends. And took about 2 days before he got to that with the notes, and he asked me, I'll never forget. He said, "Hey man, I've been up all night. I don't wrote all these notes, man." I said, "Man, where did this Matthias text come from, man? It's amazing." He had a whole list of all these citations because he was well read too. He had read the forgotten books of Eden, the lost books of the Bible, the pseudepigraphical text. He knew his Bible like I did. And he knew where a lot of these materials came from. He said, "Man, I'm pretty sure that this right here is about a 8th or 9th century composition because, man, it references this. I'm telling you, man, I think because the way it was written, I'm real positive that the original to this was probably in Greek, not Latin." He says the way the Senate, man, he was really giving it to me. And I'm just listening to him. And he's got all his research notes and he was just fascinated with the text. And he was on fire because it was a new text he'd never heard of. And he did his homework. He didn't find all of them, but he found enough to be convinced in his mind that he had come in contact with a supernatural text, something that was inspired by God, that this right here was a part of the canon and it had been lost, or it just hadn't been mentioned anywhere, or maybe it had a different title and he had not come across it before. He was absolutely convinced that this text, the Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe, was at least 14 centuries old. And then I told him the truth and he never spoke to me again. So, yeah, John, I kind of trolled him, didn't I? I would have never called it trolling back then. But sometimes he was doing better a couple of years after that. He still never spoke to me, man. I seen him on different cell blocks on the rec yard and shit like that. He never spoke to me again. And I remember for about a year, I was really messed up about it. I went too far. But I'm telling you the story now. My channel is 4.5 years old. since I released my very first videos. Guys, I've never told you this story before because it was intrinsically personal to me. I lost a very valuable friendship behind this. But I'm telling you now, because there's many people just like him who think that because a text is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 centuries old, that it's somehow divine. The entire Old Testament, the entire New Testament, the pseudepigraphical text, the apocryphal and extra-canonical writings, the Hermetic literature, all the writings of the Gnosis, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Nag Hammadi Library, every bit of it is the writings of men, just like the Apocalypse of Matthias the Scribe. When we rely on anything in the physical world as a litmus test to measure our own spirituality, we are literally carnalizing that which is spiritual. We're trying to fit it into the materium. Now, remember, we draw from ourselves more than we contain. All spiritual food comes from within. If you're taking sustenance from anything in the world of phenomena, then you're taking it from the materium. It's corrupt. It's not accurate. It's not true. That's my only point sharing this story and reading this to you today. It's my only point. My only point. There isn't a single religious text in the world that matters. The only thing that matters is your connection to source. That's it. That's it. So when it comes to talking about the origin of Christianity and the earlier texts, that's why I know that I am absolutely fearless in debate. I know all the facts. I got it all down. I know every bit of this are the inventions of men. I already know Jesus never went around to you. It's a beautiful literary story. That's what it was. And this is why the church had 37 councils trying to historicize it before they could get everybody on board. And they still couldn't get everybody on board. That's why at the Council of Nicaea, there were fistfights. That's why at other councils, they drew weapons against each other. Yeah, that's why they had to eliminate the Cathars and the Waldenses. They had to genocide two whole peoples just to shut them up about what they really knew about the original Christian records. Yeah. I'm keeping this video short today, guys. I wanted to go live. I wanted to go live to share this with you before the end of the year. And also to tell you, listen, guys, 2025 is going to be fantastic. Stay tuned to Archaix because I'm about to start releasing Archaix bullets. You never know when I'm going to drop them, but they're only going to be about 8, 9, or 10 minutes. I'm talking about data packed about one little topic, something that you can share, and they're specifically designed to completely implode any BS that's out there in the field. You hear some BS about something in the field, just go through the Archaix Bullets playlist, and I'm going to have them all for you. Modern update. That's what 2025 is. It's going to be about releasing Archaix Bullets and the Paradigm War. That's right. Archaix face to face with AIX. We're going to peel back the layers on everything. And all those other people, man, that are sick of me and are tired of me and trying to block me out their chats and all that. Shit, 2025 is going to get deep. And I'm ready for it. It's the Paradigm War, guys. And I'm checking out. I'm keeping this short today. Thank you for spending this time with me. We've got one more live video before the end of the year. And what it's about, I am not telling you. I'm not telling you. All right, let's see. Let's get this out. Stop that screen. Yeah, guys, you want to know about true spirituality? Just lock yourself in a closet and go within. That's all you got to do. Go within. And I'll see you real soon on the next live, guys.